Okay, this is a short explanation of some factors to take into mind when you're using the APA documentation style. I'm going to start the presentation in full screen mode. Okay, and use the arrows down here to go through the presentation. In this particular slide, I'm showing you what to do if you have more than one reference to support a point you want to make in your paper. And this could happen very likely in your introduction or your review of the literature. So in this case, we're talking about several studies that came up with the same type of finding. So here are the three references: Bennett and McIntosh, Blair and Hall, Dwyer, Hoder, and Honey. Notice semicolons separate all three. Okay, so in this case you have a semicolon here, a semicolon here, and they are listed in alphabetical order, which will correspond to how the references are going to be listed in the reference section. Okay. This particular slide is demonstrating how to cite if you're using the authors of a reference in the signal phrase or as the subject of your sentence. Notice here we have three authors. Notice the year goes directly after the author's name. It does not go at the end of the sentence. Now those three authors, when they're used again in the paper, you would not need to list all three. You would use this form. It's the et al. It's a Latin form that means and others. Et does not take a period. It's a full word in Latin, but this does take a period because it is an abbreviation. Okay. This slide illustrates what to do if you have two authors for a reference. If you have two authors, you need to give both authors every time. The first example at the top here shows if the authors are used in the signal phrase or as a subject of the sentence, and the next one shows you what to do if they're used in a parenthetical citation. So here notice that you use the abbreviation for and up here you're spelling out and. In some occurrences, you might find a reference has 6 or more authors. In the text of your paper, you never at any point list all 6 authors. Rather, you list just the first author, et al., and the year. However, if the particular first author has been referenced in other references you're using, you'll need to list enough of those other references to clarify. So notice here at the bottom that the first two authors are the same, but the third author is different. And so distinguish among those different situations. Again, if you have this type of situation, notice what is done. And in this case, just using a year would not have worked because these authors in 2006 published multiple references that you're using in your paper. Okay. Although it is not advised to quote directly when you're using the APA style, there may be a case where you want to maybe quote a sentence. And so if you do quote a sentence and it's from a print source or it's an online source in a PDF format or another format that shows the page number, you do need to give the page number. So here in this case, there was a quote that was used in the paper from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and notice P period and the page it was given on. If you have a reference that is an online reference and there are no page numbers, you would then give the paragraph. If it's a long document with chapters or sections, you would also give the section and the paragraph. So take a look at this particular slide to see what to do when you need to give page numbers. The newer version of APA does suggest also giving page numbers if you're paraphrasing or referring to a very highly specific information that was found in a specific part of the text. So this might be a statistic or a paraphrase that is so close to the original that you also want to give the page number. Both examples, the one I have here down at the bottom does show you that it's a paraphrase and then it moves right into a quote. And so in this case, again, you'd have to say where in the reference you got the information. In this case, it was paragraph 4. And the abbreviation for paragraph, as you could see, is PAR period. Okay. How to cite an organization that you would be using more than once in your paper that has an acronym. It is illustrated in this slide. The first time you mention the organization, if you're mentioning it in the text of your paper, you would write it out, and in parentheses, you would indicate what the acronym is. Thereafter, in the paper, you would merely need to use the acronym. If the first time you are mentioning the particular organization and it happens to be in a parenthetical citation, what you would do is put the acronym in brackets in the parenthetical citation, and then thereafter you would use the acronym. Below, I show you the format for using the acronym in subsequent citations. In the first case, it's used in a single phrase, and in the second, in a parenthetical citation. If you happen to have a reference and that last name of that reference is the same last name of another reference, in each case you will need to use the reference's first initial. So that is being illustrated here. There may be a possibility that in citing a reference you could not find the original, and so you're citing a reference that you used that cited another source. And this is called using a secondary source. And basically what you do if you cannot find the original is in the text of the paper, you would indicate who the original person would be. In this case, it was Allman, and where you found it as cited in Howard and Edwards, and Howard and Edwards would appear in your reference list and Allman would not. It's a possibility that you might get information from a telephone call, a live interview, or possibly an online video interview with a person. If you need to cite an interview that is not considered a retrievable reference, and in the text of your paper, these are the two formats to use. This one would be if the person is in the subject of the sentence, and this is if you want to recognize it in a parenthetical citation. Notice the person's initials are used. You indicate it's a personal communication, and you give the year of it. Second example here is showing you how to do it if it happened to be in a parenthetical citation. Personal communications do not appear on your references. They only appear in the text of your paper. Okay, the next few slides are going to show you some citations that would appear on a reference page. Because I'm doing this in Google Slides, I'm not going to be able to show the hanging indent or the double spacing. But when you're preparing your final document, you will need double spacing for each citation and will need to use the hanging indent. Okay, what I'd like to point out here is in this particular reference, these are the author's names in the order in which they appeared in the original article. Only initials are used, no first names. Notice the commas, notice the and abbreviation here, followed in parentheses here with a year and a period. It's important to remember when you are using journal articles that each word in the title does not take a capital letter. So here the first word takes it, and over here you see a capital letter because it's a proper noun. So the only words in journal articles that would take a capital letter would be the first word. If there happened to be a colon in the title, the first word after the colon, and any proper nouns. The name of the journal is italicized and does take regular title case, meaning that you have the capital letters on the major words. This is the volume, which is italicized. This is the issue, which goes in parentheses. It is not italicized. And here are the pages for the journal article. Notice the abbreviation PP is not used, or if we're on one page, P period is also not used, so be careful about that. Okay, here's a citation for a book. I know you might find this a little strange, but the titles of the books, again, are going to be using that lowercase rule. The first word would be capitalized. The second word here is not capitalized. The question mark here almost operates like a colon, so the first word after it would be capitalized and the rest is not capitalized. The city, and in this case the country, is given with a colon followed by the name of the publisher. If it were a city and state in the U.S., you would have the name of the city and the name of the state. So for instance, if it were New York, you'd spell out New York as a city here and use the abbreviation NY here, colon, and the name of the publisher. A chapter in a book or an essay in a book with editors, the name of the author or authors who wrote the essay appear here, which is the reference you would be using in the text of your paper. The name of the essay or article follows. Again, notice where lowercase letters would be used. The name of the essay or chapter in the book is followed with a period. Next, you give in and the name of the editor. Okay? The name of the book. Notice the name of the book again is falling back on those lowercase letters in the title. The particular pages that this article occurred in the book. Publishing information follows. Here's a citation showing you how to do a reference for an organization. In this case, it's a government report. So the name of the organization, the year, the name of the article that you referenced, and again, notice where to use capitals, where to use lowercase. If the particular publication has a number, you can indicate it. This happened to be a PDF, so that information can be provided as well to indicate where it was retrieved from online. Okay. I urge you to use the publication manual of the American Psychological Association 6th edition for more information. It's really difficult to memorize all these rules and to have them handy when you need them. So again, consider purchasing the manual if you didn't yet do so. And feel free, if you want to go through the presentation again.